Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most complex, dramatic, and explosive regions in the world, the Balkans. Why has this corner of Europe been called the powder keg of the continent? It's a land where empires fought, nations were born, and history was written in blood and courage. From ancient tribes and Roman conquerors to Ottoman sultans and world-changing assassins, the story of the Balkans is the story of conflict, survival, and identity. How did this region shape the world as we know it? And how did its modern nations emerge from centuries of turmoil? Stay with me as we journey through 2,000 years of Balkan history and uncover how its states came to be. The story of the Balkans begins thousands of years ago, long before any of the countries we know today existed. This rugged, mountainous land was home to ancient tribes like the Illyrians, Thracians, and Dacians. These were fierce, independent peoples who carved out a life in the challenging terrain. But their world was about to change. The ancient Greeks arrived, establishing powerful city-states along the coasts. They brought philosophy, democracy, trade, and their rich culture, transforming the region into a vibrant hub of civilization. Because of its strategic location, bridging Europe and Asia, the Balkans became a crossroads. Everyone wanted a piece of it. It was a magnet for armies, traders, and ideas, and this constant flow of people and power would define its destiny for millennia. Control of the Balkans meant control of the gateway between East and West, and the fight for that control was just getting started. Around the 2nd century BCE, a new superpower arrived on the scene, Rome. The disciplined Roman legions marched across the peninsula, conquering the local tribes and incorporating the entire region into their vast empire. For centuries, the Balkans were under Roman rule. The Romans were master builders and administrators. They constructed roads that connected distant provinces, built cities that became centers of commerce, and implemented laws that brought a new kind of order. The region became vital to the Roman Empire, providing soldiers, resources, and strategic depth. But empires don't last forever. When the Roman Empire split in two, the Balkans fell under the influence of the Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, with its magnificent capital in Constantinople. This split created a deep cultural and religious fault line. The region became a battlefield between Western Catholic and Eastern Orthodox Christianity, with Slavic tribes migrating into the area, adding yet another layer of complexity. This era cemented the Balkans' identity as a place where different worlds collided. Then, in the 1300s, another monumental shift occurred. A new, formidable power from the East began its relentless expansion into Europe, the Ottoman Empire. Over the next century, the Ottomans conquered vast swaths of the Balkans, defeating local kingdoms in legendary battles like the Battle of Kosovo in 1389. For nearly 500 years, many Balkan peoples, Serbs, Bulgarians, Bosnians, Albanians, and others lived under Ottoman rule. This long period profoundly shaped the region's culture. It influenced everything: the languages people spoke, the religions they practiced, with many converting to Islam, the architecture of their cities, the food on their tables, and their very sense of identity. While some communities thrived under the Ottoman system, others faced heavy taxes and repression. This long period of foreign rule also planted the seeds of a powerful new idea: nationalism. The desire for freedom and self-rule began to simmer beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to erupt. That moment arrived in the 19th century. Inspired by revolutions in America and France, a fire of nationalism swept across the Balkans. The weakening Ottoman Empire, now called the sick man of Europe, could no longer contain the aspirations of its subjects. One by one, Balkan nations rose up to demand their freedom. It started with Serbia in the early 1800s, which fought a long and brutal struggle for autonomy. Then, in 1821, Greece launched its War of Independence, capturing the imagination of Europe and eventually winning its freedom. They were soon followed by others. Romania, Bulgaria, and Albania all fought to carve out their own nations from the crumbling empires that surrounded them: the Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian, and Russian. Each independence movement was a fight not just for political freedom, but for cultural survival. They sought to define their own borders, revive their own languages, and celebrate their own histories. This wave of liberation was glorious, but it also set the stage for new conflicts, as the newly freed nations began to argue over the very land they had just fought to reclaim. As the Ottoman Empire continued to shrink, the new Balkan states saw an opportunity to expand their territories. But they weren't just fighting the Ottomans, they were also competing with each other. This rivalry exploded in 1912 and 1913 in a series of short but incredibly brutal conflicts known as the Balkan Wars. In the First Balkan War, an alliance of Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Montenegro joined forces to drive the Ottomans almost completely out of Europe. They succeeded, but their victory was short-lived. The Allies immediately began to quarrel over how to divide the spoils, particularly the region of Macedonia. This led to the Second Balkan War, where Bulgaria fought against its former allies. These wars were devastating. They reshaped the map of the region, creating new borders and displacing hundreds of thousands of people. More importantly, they left a legacy of bitterness and unresolved tensions, especially for Serbia, which felt cheated out of its territorial ambitions by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The powder keg was now filled with explosive rivalries, and it only needed a single spark to ignite. That spark came on June 28, 1914. In the city of Sarajevo, the capital of Austro-Hungarian occupied Bosnia, a young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. This single act of political violence set off a catastrophic chain reaction. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, eager to crush Serbian nationalism once and for all, declared war on Serbia. Because of a complex web of military alliances that had been built up over decades, other European powers were dragged into the conflict. Russia mobilized to protect its ally, Serbia. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, declared war on Russia and France. Britain then declared war on Germany. What began as a regional crisis in the Balkans spiraled into a global catastrophe: World War I. The war would kill millions, topple empires, and redraw the map of the world. And it all started on a street corner in Sarajevo, proving just how deeply intertwined the fate of the Balkans was with the rest of the world. In the aftermath of World War I, as great empires crumbled, a new and ambitious political experiment began in the Balkans. Several South Slavic regions were united to form a single country, the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, which was later renamed Yugoslavia, meaning Land of the South Slavs. For decades, under the strong leadership of Josip Broz Tito after World War II, Yugoslavia stood as a unique, multi-ethnic federation. It was a socialist state, but remained independent from the Soviet Union, navigating a careful path between East and West during the Cold War. For a time, it seemed that the age-old ethnic and religious rivalries of the Balkans had been suppressed under the banner of a shared Yugoslav identity. But when Tito died in 1980 and the Cold War came to an end a decade later, the forces of nationalism, which had been dormant for so long, returned with a vengeance. The fragile unity of Yugoslavia shattered. In the 1990s, the country collapsed into a series of brutal wars that pitted neighbors against each other. These horrific conflicts led to the creation of the modern Balkan states we know today: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and later Kosovo. Today, the Balkan countries are still navigating the long shadow of their turbulent history. The scars of the 1990s wars are still visible, but the region is also a story of incredible resilience. Nations are rebuilding, economies are growing, and people are working to build a future of peace and cooperation. Many Balkan countries have joined or are seeking to join the European Union, hoping to secure stability and prosperity for future generations. The region is a treasure trove of culture, with vibrant music, delicious food, and breathtaking landscapes that draw visitors from all over the world. From the ancient ruins of Greece to the stunning coast of Croatia and the historic cities of Serbia and Bosnia, the Balkans offer a journey through time. The history of the Balkans shows us that conflict can break nations apart, but it can also forge an unshakable spirit of survival. These countries stand as powerful proof that even after centuries of division and war, it is possible to rebuild, reconcile, and create a stronger, more hopeful future. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the history of the Balkans. If you found this story fascinating and want to see more deep dives into global history, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.